Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and have we got some big news for you this morning. And it's not just the fact that Avram Glazer has confirmed that he won't be selling, or the Glazers won't be selling. Where does that leave us as a fan base? We've got an injury update on Mainu. We've got a few other bits coming in about Christopher Vavel and the future of the director of football position. But I want to start off with some exclusive news we've been given this morning around Manchester United's transfer scenario. Now, you may well have seen stories this morning about Man United and Cunha of Wolves and his desire to join Man United, and Man United being willing to hit that release clause of £64 million. You may well have seen stories from Portugal about us willing to spend £50 million on Diamonde, the centre-back that used to play, or still plays for Sporting, but used to be under Amrim. You may well have seen these stories about Quenda, Gyökeres, Osimhen and everybody else, and you'd be right to think of the word spin. But what is the actual situation? Now, we've approached people at Manchester United, and what we have been told is that the situation at Man United is financially precarious. And to discuss any ongoing transfers would be unusual anyway, but obviously is very, very much dependent on the situation in the club in the summer. Now, that's sort of the line that's coming out. However, from better sources than that, we've been told that Manchester United are not in a position to be going to Cunha or Gyökeres or any other player and saying join us for £60 million in the summer, because Manchester United don't have those funds. And anybody who is interpreting the financials or anything else that we do is talking out their arse and spinning a yarn that suits their agenda, that maybe I want to be right about Ineos. The bottom line is, and this is coming from very good sources who aren't on the bloody client journalism line, is that Manchester United cannot go to a Cunha or a Gyökeres or anybody else and confirm there is the money to pay Wolves, come to us. The best they can do, and what they maybe are doing, is going to a Cunha or an Osimhen and saying, we'd like to sign you in the summer. This would be the wage package. This would be the signing on fee. Are you interested in that? To which the player would say yay or nay. But then you've got yes or no. But then you've got to negotiate with Napoli or Wolves, which Man United are not in a position to do. So when you look at the Cunha story this morning, and I'll read this out to you, this is the sort of stuff we need. And to be honest with you, there's people at Man United who are just so pissed off, they'll give you the information anyway. There's a lot of people just not happy, so they'll feed information out. I don't like it coming from the dressing room. Maybe some of you don't like it coming around transfers and stuff. But to be honest with you, a lot of this is just bloody common sense anyway, but it's useful because it sort of diminishes and demeans the stories that that come out around transfers every single bloody day. What I will say is that we will be talking about what Joel Glazer said. He basically was asked whether whether he's going to sell Man United, and he said no. That was about it. But we'll talk about that in a minute because I think this is more important. Yeah, in relation to Cunha, this is coming in from Give Me Sport. Man United are reportedly confident that Cunha will want to join them this summer. They are ready to go and activate his £62 million release clause. He is their number one target for their attack, and he is a huge fan of the club. Look, we can all write this. We can all do stories like this. Piece of piss. Oh, you know what? Gyökeres is a huge fan of Amrim. He'd love to come to Man United, and Man United are willing to pay £60 million for him. We can all write that. The problem with it is that these players aren't wanted just by Manchester United. They're wanted by Arsenal. They might be wanted from Liverpool. They might be wanted by Newcastle. They might be wanted by PSG. They might be wanted by Bayern Munich. They might be wanted by a lot of clubs, even Aston Villas these days. Man United potentially are putting themselves in a position in the summer where they have no European football and no money to spend without selling. If they want to get a Cunha from Wolves, they've got to produce the £60 million for Wolves quick before somebody else did, because the same thing happened with Elise last year. Remember, learn your lessons from history with this football club. This time last year, we didn't know any better. Let me take you on a little bit of a history lesson. We knew no better. It was the first year of Ineos. From February to May, he is the guy. He is the guy. Elise is the guy that Ineos want. Elise wants to join Man United. Man United are working on a deal with Crystal Palace. Elise is coming to Man United. And for 3 months, we were looking at that going, wow, scoring against Man United, what a player. What happens? Bayern Munich come in and go, there's the money, right here, right now. Crystal Palace go, thank you very much. Elise looks at Man United and they go, we're not ready yet. All right, I'm off to Germany. See you later. And that's what will happen again, because Man United will knock on the door of Wolves and go, he wants to come to us. Just give us a bit of time. And then Wolves will go, I know you want to go Man United, but Arsenal are here with the money, or PSG are here with the money, or whatever, and that'll be goodbye to the deal. And Man United may not ever raise that money. So I think it's interesting. Look, we unfortunately at the moment we seem to be doing a lot of journalist work, and I don't really want to be doing that. I'd rather be spending time talking about the suitability of these players, talking about, you know, what's going to happen with Amrim, etc. But nobody really seems to want to undig, you know, some home truths. And we can't just keep reacting to stories that Man United are going to spend £50 million on Diamonde and £62 million on Cunha and £60 million on Quenda and buy Osimhen for 70. I mean, I've just spent £300 million. We haven't got it. And so at some point you've got to go, well, which ones of these stories are complete and utter horseshit? And the reality is, and it is a reality because it's coming in from good sources, Man United are not in a, I'm reading it, Man United are not in a position at the moment to be going round securing deals with anybody other than probably Quenda. That's the only deal they might be able to do. And even then, Sporting are difficult to deal with. So all this, we're going to pay this, we're going to pay that, not a chance. Which I think is what it says on the thumbnail. Not a chance. Man United don't have those funds. And what I was also told, and also obviously makes sense, is it's problematic. You liken the first summer of Ten Hag, where he didn't come in till the middle of May. Lots of decent clubs that are well run. Arsenal with Arteta, Liverpool with Slot now, Pep with Man City, all the Emery at Villa, all these clubs that have a manager now, that they're going to have a manager next season, they in March, April can be approaching the Atletico Madrids, the Wolverhampton Wanderers, the Sporting Lisbons, whatever. They can approach them and go, this is the project, this is the manager, here is the money, do you want to join us this summer? And that makes you very powerful in February, March and April, because you can go, we have the money, we have the project, we have the manager, we have the team, do you want to come? Whereas Man United are approaching people at the moment and going, we haven't got the money, we think we've got a project, we're pretty sure this is the manager, we don't know what next season's going to look like. And the big stumbling block is the player might look at it and go, this is a graveyard for careers, I'd be better off going to Arsenal. But more importantly, the selling club stops listening at, you haven't got the money. And that's where United are at the moment. Lots of interest. I'm pretty sure United would love to buy Cunha, Gyökeres, Diamonde, Quenda, Edison. I'm sure we'd love to buy all these players. But the financial freedom to do that just isn't there. We are probably, scarily, looking at the end of May before we know financially where we're at, because we probably won't know until then whether we've won the Europa League, unless we get knocked out early, in which case we'll know the doomsday scenario a lot quicker. And also, as we were talking about yesterday, one of the big things we're going to have a problem with is selling players. It's all fine and well that we sit there and go, well, 40 million for Rashford, 15 million's going to come in from Sancho, maybe we can sell this player. But you've still got to do that. Yeah, we'll get the money from Sancho at the end of June because that's when the obligation to buy will kick in. But Rashford might sit on his arse till the end of August again and go, I'm not going here, I'm not going there. So financially, difficult with Manchester United, definitely. Hi, Mark and everyone. If you've got any questions about that, absolutely fly into it. Not bothered about that. But effectively, in a nutshell, all these stories are nonsense. Man United aren't negotiating with anybody because they haven't got the financial freedom to do it. They cannot go to a club and say, we will spend 62 million on Cunha because we haven't got the 62 million. And I just use Elise from last year. Interest, yes. Player interest, yes. Financials to do it, no. Spin. Sleepster, thank you very much. Welcome to the Members Club. Thank you for being here for 12 months. Based on last summer, says Ruben, outgoings this summer will take forever and Amrim won't get a pre-season with 2 or 3 players he can actually sign, says Ruben. Have you seen pre-season? I know I'm going to divert here, but we like to do this. Have you seen pre-season, Ruben and everybody? So apparently, we're going to America again. Shock horror. Nothing against America, by the way, but it's not really a pre-season tour, is it? We may as well just call it pre-season in America. I mean, it's every year now. That's where the money is. That's why we're doing it. Apparently, we're going to play teams like Leeds and West Ham in some sort of mini tournament, which I don't even like that. I like playing Real Madrid. I like playing Miami Dolphins. Not Miami Dolphins. Inter Miami and all that lot. So, yeah, apparently we're going to play like Leeds and West Ham in some mini tournament in pre-season. It's knobheadness, I think. Anyway, whatever. I suppose they're looking for some competitive element to it. But we're also heading to Malaysia, I think, at the end of the season to play a couple of games. Now, I ridiculed Newcastle and Spurs for doing this last year. How are we fitting this in if we're planning on being in the Europa League final? Europa League final, I think, look, the season ends at the end of May, and then we're off to Asia for 2 games at the end of the season. And look, I think we get about £7 million for it, so it's money. But I might be the only one putting my hand up here, and it's great for the audience over there who are Man United fans to see the team. But hold on a minute. Mount, Shaw, Ahmad, Mainu, Agate. We moan about injuries, and we moan about, and then we don't moan about this. Linda says the season ends on May the 18th. I don't think it does. I think the Europa League final is like 20-something from what I remember. But anyway, look, that was by the by. United need Europa win for funds as well as Champions League spots, says Damien. Get these greedy owners out, says Cruel. There is no business model out of this except a full sale, says Ginger Red 68. Well, look, last night it came out quite late. Sky Sports had a reporter in America, the United States, and they managed to follow Avram Glazer for about a minute, asking him about Man United, communication with United fans. Ultimately, asked him about Sir Jim Radcliffe, whether it's going well, wouldn't answer any of those questions. And then at the end, they got one word from him, are you going to sell the club? And he sort of smiled and said no. So if you need affirmation on that, then, or confirmation on that, I'm surprised they're not selling the club. I mean, look, I know we're all different and we all have different opinions, and that should be embraced, even if you don't respect it. But different opinions are good. Why would anybody expect him to say yes? I actually saw somebody say he wouldn't be allowed to announce that anyway because they'd have to announce it to the shareholders first. Mate, they're not for sale. What part of you thinks they're for sale? They're not putting the club up for sale. It's not on their agenda. So you take that information and you do with it what you want. But if there's any curiosity or any hope or any thinking that they might be about to sell, take it to your brain cells. No, they have no intention of selling the football club. I'm surprised we even have to confirm it. They are not selling the club. Not going to do it. They've got no intention of doing it. They didn't intend on doing it a couple of years ago. They don't intend on doing it now. There's a lot of money coming into that football club, obviously from, I would say, probably the regeneration area. They're not going anywhere. Look, as owners of that football club, the one thing I wanted to say, the one thing I would say is, and Ineos didn't lie, Savage. One of our moderators, Savage Legend, says Ineos lied. They didn't lie, to be fair. They didn't lie. I can't find, unless I'm wrong, in which case I would apologise, at no point have I ever been able to find a statement from Sir Jim Radcliffe when he bought 25% or 28%, did he ever say it was a pathway to buying all of the club? I can't find that statement anywhere. Where that came from is certain Twitter Man United accounts who are pro-Glazer, pro-Ineos. That I can't find that. And look, I'm not Ineos' biggest fan, but I'm not going to lie. I can't find anywhere where it said from them, when they got hold of the club, that they had a pathway to buying the club. In fact, Andy Mitten did an interview with Sir Jim Radcliffe at Christmas, and he said there wasn't a pathway to buying the rest of the club. That was put out there by certain accounts, aggregators, who basically were pro-Ineos and anti-Qatar and wanted to basically do what they always do and add their opinion, not facts. It's the same people who sit there and tell you that United can spend a load of money in the summer, and they're just spinning lies to justify their mistake. They don't actually know what the Ineos plan is, and more of them are having to admit that this is not what they expected. So I can't find, to be fair, anywhere where Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said that his pathway is to buy the Glazers out. I can't find it anywhere. But I definitely know a lot of people were saying it on Twitter. And we never had that. But going back to what I was saying there, I think as a Man United fan, when you hear Avram Glazer say, no, the club is not for sale, I'm not selling it, that means they're not selling it. So if I was in charge of the football club, or you were in charge of the football club, and you look at the damage you've done, Old Trafford's going to get knocked down. I mean, if I was in charge of Man United and I had it on my conscience that Old Trafford was going to get knocked down, I think I'd just become a recluse. You know, I think I'd just go and live in a shed somewhere and hide away and live out my days ashamed. I'd be disgusted with myself. Absolutely disgusted. And that's just one thing. The debt would destroy me as well. Where they are in the league, what I've done to I'd be absolutely, you know, mortified. I'd be disgusted with myself every single day. But they're not Man United fans. And I think it's important to remember that. You look at the debt, you look at the stadium, you look at the position of the club, you look at the failures, you look at the, you know, their behaviours. They are not Man United fans. They are scum. When it comes to football, they are absolutely business scum. And they're still in charge and they're not going anywhere. And I think, look, as a fan base, you've got to look at that and take it as a message. Up yours. Up yours. We're not going anywhere. We don't care what you think. You're not relevant. We're not going anywhere. We're going to knock your stadium down. We're going to keep you in debt. We're going to milk some more out from this regeneration project. And you mugs are all going to pay for it. You're all going to pay for it. And I got, you know, look, we get a lot of messages and stuff from people, but I think the important thing is, it's not like it's not been staring you in the face. Some United fans have left and gone and done other things. They still support United, but they do it from afar. Some people are trying to do things. But the reality is, the message has always been clear. You don't matter. I know I don't matter. I know they couldn't give a shit. I can sit here going, Glazers out, Ineos are crap. They don't care. They're not bothered. Not at one time have I had an email, a message or anything like that threatening me or asking me for a meeting. And we've got one of the biggest Man United communities in the world, if not the biggest. And I'm not blowing steam up our arse, we have. And at no point has any of them ever reached out to say, you know, come on, I think you're being a bit unfair about what you said about the finances, or, you know, this is the plan. They literally don't care. And that only dawned on me yesterday. I'm like, we've got a massive community, and we say home truths. I mean, you know, the only thing I know that I will say is that, you know, the video we did about the regeneration project, about the land, that caused a lot of trouble. I mean, I was looking over my shoulder for a little bit. I was like, that has, you know, we had the interview with Rasmus. We will never get anything like that again. The club will never give us anything like that again. And to be honest, you know, at least you have a clear conscience. I mean, I don't know whether we'll be ever allowed a question in the press conference again. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. But, you know, the clubs, we've all got to make sacrifices. The club's an absolute disgrace at the moment. And I would rather say it how it is than not say it in the hope that, ooh, we might get another interview with a player that's massively scripted and edited out. So I couldn't give a shit, really. I really couldn't. But when we did that video about that land, I know for a fact, because I know the people I spoke to at the club and I know what the kickback was, they wriggled around that. They didn't. I had to keep going to the club and saying, no, this land. They kept moving me away. And that's true. They helped. They didn't lie, but I had to keep going and going, no, this is what I'm talking about. Not that, this. And keep going in and in and in until they did confirm it. And then when it went out, there was loads of trouble in the club because of it, because they wanted to know how we knew it. So, look, everybody in that club is a Glazer employee. Whether I like them or not, you get paid by the Glazers. You've got bills to pay, but you are a Glazer employee. I'm not a Glazer employee. You aren't Glazer employees. I'm not on the payroll with the Glazers or Ineos. So, as fans, we can say what we think. It's their job to tell us we're wrong. And as I said, at no point have they done that. I was listening to the interview with the 58 and Tony on the Webby and O'Neill channel. I was disappointed by that interview because the guy from, is it Steve from the 58 said, we've had very little contact from the club. We spoke to a couple of people who are like fan representatives and Colette Roach who paid lip service. And they've been doing protests for what? 4 or 5 years? Must have been around for ages. All they get is lip service. Nobody in that football club is interested, whether you're the 58, Man United Supporters Trust, Red Army, they're not interested. They're not interested in listening to anything we've got to say. And that's a message we should all take. And do with that what you want. So when Avram Glazer says the club's not for sale, I would assume it's never going to be for sale. 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you'll probably die with the Glazers in charge of this football club because there is no plan to sell it. Now, if you're accepting of that, fine. If you don't like that, then at some point, properly, something needs to be done. Now, somebody messaged me yesterday and it was absolutely spot on. And I wish I'd said it on the video, but this is the great thing about a community. They said a lot of people say empty the stadiums. As you said, Mark, if you empty that stadium, the Glazers have won anyway because you've already paid your season ticket, most people. If you empty the stadium and stop going, they'll take your season ticket off you and there's a massive queue for season tickets. So it's not just emptying the stadium of 75,000 people, which is hard enough. It's actually emptying the stadium of about 500,000 because the queue for the season tickets is massive. And if you don't go, someone else will go. It's incredible, but it's true. Whether you like that or not, it's true. So how do you solve this problem? We are absolutely shit. Our club is being run into the ground. We're owned by people who don't care about us and don't care about the club. And yet, if people stop going, more people will come. So how do you stop it? How do you stop it? And that's a rhetorical question. How do you remove these people? And as many of you have said, the only thing that ever panicked them was that Liverpool game being cancelled. And that's the only thing that's ever panicked them. I think sponsorships panicked them as well. But look, sending a few angry emails to a sponsor ain't going to work. It's got to be much bigger than that. And I just think, look, there's protests before the Arsenal game. I'd like it if there was a lot more stuff going on and we'd support it all. I don't care how big it is, don't care how small it is, if the fan base agrees with it. What I don't agree with, I'm starting my own protest on Saturday, like a social media protest. I don't agree with that because it gets the backup of other groups. That we shouldn't do that. People shouldn't be going off doing individualistic things. It should always be, this is an idea, is everybody on board with it? Not everybody will support it, but they might be okay with it. You don't want to divide the fan base. But look, the message is clear on that. No, we're not selling the club. So if you're under any illusions that you think Qatar are buying the club because some aggregator put it out there, or you think that there's a chance that Sir Jim's going to buy all the club by 2026, or you think that the Glazers will be gone by 2030, no, no, and no. None of those are in the pipeline. They're staying. Mark, people like you and other match-going fans are complicit in the Glazers destroying the club. I haven't been to Old Trafford since the Glazers took over, says Nihang. I mean, look, mate, you're entitled to your opinion, and I do agree with you. I am complicit. I think we're all complicit. And unfortunately, your plan of not going to Old Trafford since the Glazers took over, whilst it may be noble, is also stupid because it's not going to do anything. The Glazers don't care, mate. They're not worried that you're not going to a game because thousands and thousands of other people are. So I respect what you're doing, but it ain't enough. And you might be able to sleep at night and that might be your choice, but I think it's sad that you are in that position because it's not making any difference at all. It needs to be bigger. Ineos have Brailsford, thinks he knows everything. It's like a cricket coach managing a football team. He has to go, says Razzler. Look, Brailsford's been at Nice, as I said on that video last week, since 2021 as a sporting director. I mean, all right, Nice are in the top 4 at the moment, but bloody hell, the money they've spent, they should have been in the top 4 a lot more than that. He's a guy who rides a bike. If I wanted somebody to ride a bike, see me on Sunday for a ride around the park. I mean, I'm not, specialists, you know? It's actually easy to get them out, get every single game abandoned by any means necessary, says MI. Simon, well, look. I think we all know how to make a change, but everyone's got to be on it all together. Shane Matthews says, Simon Jordan's take on Ineos on TalkSport yesterday was interesting. He thinks we need to give Ineos time. Look, mate, the day I listen to Simon Jordan is the day I think I'll pack it in, actually. He's just a guy who swallows a dictionary every morning, comes up with big words and scripts his shows. I mean, I know that for a fact. He won't sit and do a show with anybody off the cuff. It's all swallow a book, research the comments and come up with something that sounds intelligent. I mean, I respect most people actually sit there and go live with an audience and interact with them. And also, he's a former failed owner of a football club as well. Fair play for giving it a go, but just because he swallowed a dictionary and he's good at Scrabble doesn't mean he's good at, what does he know about Man United? He's probably a bloody mate with Seb Coe or Sir Jim anyway. Are you going to trust Simon Jordan on your football club? I mean, what are you listening to that shit for anyway? I've told you. That whole radio station is scripted bullshit. I've seen it firsthand. My show wasn't because I presented it, I took the calls, but I know what it's all about. I wouldn't listen to it. We will never buy early because we keep cash till the last minute to offset the interest. If it's in our account, it offsets the interest debt. If we owed $10 and had $5 cash, we only pay interest on $5, says GC. Yeah, I know what you mean. Buy late, save money. Super League coming, YSL, says Harvey. Thank you very much. Look, somebody said you're a bit feisty this morning. Are we not dealing with the... So you say I'm being a bit feisty. Who am I being feisty to? So I'm being feisty towards people that are saying give Ineos time, or, Ineos saved the Glazers and look at what the Glazers are doing. That's the bottom line. I will be feisty because I hear spin, I hear bullshit, I hear people who benefit from promoting Ineos. You know what? I know for a fact that the way the club is working at the moment is if you don't write certain things, you can have this interview, you can have that question. That's how it works. Client journalism. I don't trust any of the journalists. I don't trust any of these aggregators that are now constantly positive about Man United. I'm not going to start shouting them out because it's like, why give them any free credit? But I've noticed certain aggregators, certain channels just won't say anything anymore. And it's like, having had relationships with Manchester United, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. And I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing certain things happen because it's just their way of reacting as they always do. Transfer stories, sign a player. Look, they will sign a player in June. You know why they'll sign a player in June? What happens at the start of July? New kit. You're foolish if you don't know this. They will buy a player in June because kits come out in early July. And then the rest of the players might not happen until August. But your Mason Mount will happen in June, probably Quenda, so that everybody buys the new kit. We will buy a player. We will definitely buy a player. We might buy 2 or 3 players, but we won't buy half a team. AC Milan changed owners 4 times because fans had enough. Why can't we, says Kevin. Says times end. Thank you very much. Some great comments coming in. But look, as I said, I will be feisty because the club, in my opinion, is rotting before our eyes and it's an absolute mess. And the thing is, I will never expose the information that we get because it's not fair and they're good people who are doing it for the right reasons. This is not people, leaking against Amorim or anything like that. This is disgruntled members of staff who in my opinion, are good, who are trying to fight the fight from within because they're fed up. So, but I know firsthand that the club is being run into the ground. I know firsthand that people aren't happy. And the big message is they're not happy because they think the people who are running it don't know what they're doing. Like one of the big things that come out is that they just don't understand Manchester United. They're not Manchester United people. Look, I'm not going to slag off Jason Wilcox, Director of Football of Southampton, Barada, Man City's CEO, Sir David Brailsford, a biking expert, Sir Jim Radcliffe, a billionaire from petrochemicals. Glazers handed the club from their dad, who was basically... I don't know what he was, but these are not Man United people, and this is why we're not Man United anymore. I'd certainly pick 5 of you randomly from the chat and have you in charge on our board. I think we'd be a better club in 6 months. They're just not Man United people. They don't understand the club. Mr. Hickey says, have you seen the tweet from Chris Wheeler saying it costs $14.5 million to sack Ten Hag and his staff? We did this yesterday, Mr. Hickey. I mean, I don't want to go back because it's not the History Channel, but yeah, we went through all that yesterday. It's the club's a mess in response to that. There are people who might only get one chance to see the Old Trafford before it is torn down, says Maz. Thank you very much for that. Right, okay, let's move on a little bit because we can spin back. Just a little bit on Mainu. Mainu is expected to return to the Man United side after the March international break. So I don't like international breaks, although I do like this one because we've got our Dublin show, which I'm really looking forward to. But that probably helps us out, really. 2 weeks at this time of the season can be 3 games. It can be competitive cup games. So Mainu being back in April means that effectively Everton at the weekend, Ipswich midweek, Arsenal, Fulham in the cup, 2 Europa League games, and then he'll be back. So yeah, look, Fulham in the cup and the Europa League games are a concern. We've got the draw tomorrow. We'll be live for that, by the way. Things are starting to get interesting now. Obviously, it's the final qualifier tonight. But look, on the pitch, I've got to say, you can separate. I'll never want the team to lose. I want Amorim to do well. I want these players to be an up yours. I mean, look, some of the players aren't happy with the way the club's been run for years. I certainly don't think people like Harry Maguire, who are quite intelligent, are happy with the way the club's being run. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is happy with the way the club's being run. Whether you like those players or not, I don't think Marcus Rashford was happy with the way the club was being run. Now, they might have their own individual flaws, but, you know, the players, whatever you think of them, I don't think they're sat there walking around, you know, singing Ineos or Glazers. So I want them to do well. I think I've done the preview on Everton yesterday. I think we'll get a result. I think we'll beat Ipswich as well. And I think we'll get something out of Arsenal. I think we've got a real, I think we have to, but I think we've got a real opportunity to go on a bit of a run. I saw positivities from that Spurs game. I don't think it will always be pretty, and I don't think we're going to dominate teams, but I think we've got an opportunity against Everton, Ipswich, Arsenal, Fulham in the Cup and the 2 Europa League games to actually build a bit of momentum into that international break. And then if people like Mainu are back afterwards, maybe we can finish the season. We're going to have to battle. We're going to have to fight for our lives, aren't we? But maybe we can finish the season. Look, we need European football. There's no two ways about it. We do. So Mainu being back is a positive, but that'll be after the international break. Just on Paul Pogba, by the way, Fabrizio Romano has given an update on that, saying that he's heard absolutely nothing about Man United, which I would say is good news, but also it just serves to show what spin PR bullshit can do, and ex-players talking out their arse, because there's no actual story around that at the moment. Do you think Old Trafford should go on strike on match days? It will affect match day revenue, says Ibrahim. Look, there's nothing wrong with me saying this, so I will say it. If I had a magic wand and somebody said to me, I can get the next 5 Man United home games severely delayed, 2 of them postponed and 3 of them severely delayed, would you take it? Considering the backlash from the media will be Man United fans are hooligans, you might get points deducted, etc., etc. 100% I would. I'd love to, because I'd like to see what the reaction would be from Ineos and the Glazers if a couple of games got cancelled and 3 other ones got severely postponed, delayed. But the reaction from the mainstream, who don't like us anyway, would be the return of hooliganism. There'd be a massive police presence. People would get arrested, this, that, and the other. It would be chaotic, because that's what the powers that be do when fans start trying to make a difference to their club, because the powers that be have let this happen. The Premier League let this happen to Man United. Can't happen to anybody else. Nobody else can be bought in the way that we were bought. But they just hide behind, well, you can't do anything retrospectively. We're the biggest club in England. If we weren't in the Premier League, you'd shit yourself. But you won't do anything for us. You've let us down. The British government have let us down. Like, this is Manchester United, the biggest footballing institution, certainly in England, and one of the biggest in the world. We're just left to suffer by the government, by the Premier League, by the FA. But the minute fans start getting games cancelled, they'll be there chanting, hooliganism's back. So, of course, that's the bad side of it. People would get arrested, etc. But as an experiment, I'd tick yes. I'd like to see a couple of games get postponed. I'd like to see games get severely delayed, etc. And, you know, it turn into a mess, because it would hit the Glazers in two ways. It would hit them in the pocket, and it would also hit them with a lot of pressure from the powers that be. And it's the only thing that ever made the Glazers get in a room, albeit by Zoom, with Man United fans. Ultimately, it might not lead to anything, because it depends who they get in a room with. If they get in the room with Man United supporters trust, do you trust them to not go, yes, we're in the room, can we have what we want? I don't know whether it would lead to anything, because I don't know whether we've got the right people representing the fans. A lot of these groups, I think, have been accused of being self-motivated, and that, you know, the hipster appeal of being in a room with the Glazers and getting what they want. Is it what everybody else wants? It's very difficult. But for me, it's not about getting in the room and having a voice with Man United Football Club, is it? It's about getting the Glazers out. Like, don't negotiate with the Glazers, really. But I can't see it happening. I can't see anything changing, if I'm being honest. Do you think Old Trafford staff should go on strike on match days? Well, they won't do, Ibrahim. The same way as you can't empty Old Trafford. What Italian or Spanish club a couple of years back emptied the stadium on match days? Sure, they had season ticket holders. Find and use their blueprints is bottle-fed red. The problem that we have is that the worldwide fan base that support this shit show no matter what, going to games, shirts, etc., this won't stop, says Elliot. Thank you very much for that. Just another story I wanted to bring in as well. I mean, look, whether you like it or not, it's coming in from the news this morning that Christopher Vivell is set to stay on as Manchester United's Director of Recruitment. The club is happy with his work and are now set to make his appointment permanent. I think, to be honest with you, it's an example of something that isn't bad. As I said, again, I don't think some people have the mental capacity to realise that not everything is good and not everything is bad. I thought the summer transfer window last summer was actually okay. I thought it was quite good. Some people don't. That doesn't mean I think Ineos are good or the Glazers are good. I just think some things are open goals. I mean, you can't keep missing. Sometimes you're going to score even if you're Darwin Núñez. So I think that Christopher Vivell has been a very good appointment. And I like the idea that he's staying, because I think his reputation at bringing through young talent, he is one of the best in Europe. There is a flip side to that that's negative. The flip side, the cynic would say, well, he's perfect for the Ineos model, because they want young players to come in that are cheap, that then have a resale value. So, yeah, you can always find the negative you want to, but I do think he's a good person to bring in. I think he's massively responsible for a lot of the youth recruitment that we've brought in. But I do think that we've hit on to this idea of selling for pure profit. And I think that is what we're looking to do more and more of. So having somebody like Vivell will obviously enhance our capability of doing that. But I like Vivell. I think I remember when Chelsea got him and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And it didn't work, obviously. I think they had too many cooks at the time. But from a Man United point of view, we are a club that's about youth development, and a lot of clubs are very good at this. So having one of the best in Europe is good. What it leads to in the future, we'll have to wait and see. But look, it's impossible to be a club like Man United and miss. You can't just say everything Ineos and the Glazers have done is bad. Amorim's a great appointment. We might have done it because Berardi knew Man City wanted him, but I still think he's a great appointment. Class of 99 says, honestly, Mainu back doesn't fill me with any confidence. Either he plays as a 10 or doesn't start. I'd rather see Eriksen occupy the other 10. I mean, look, some people will agree with you. It's a good point. I don't actually agree with you. I think that there are some people out there that are obsessed with Mainu as a 10. I don't think he's a 10. I don't think he's a 6. I'd say he's more of an 8 at the moment, but I don't think that's necessarily set in stone. I think he's a ridiculously talented young player who people are trying to pigeonhole, and I know he had that one good game at 10, and then the next game he was really bad. So I personally would put Mainu next to Agate and get Bruno back up the pitch. I'd rather Bruno was at 10 and Mainu was at 8 than the other way around. But he's 19. Like, again, this is what I mean. On the one hand, I'm talking about young players coming through and how that's an exciting thing about Manchester United. But on the other hand, you do have a lot of fans these days who write young players off, which I find incredible. It's like watching half a movie and saying, I hated it. But you don't know what's going to happen at the end. And we don't know what's going to happen with Mainu or Garnacho or Collier or any other young player. And people write them off without knowing the ending. And in fact, you might, by predicting the ending, you might ruin it anyway. Mark, do you have any other insider? What's this? As it says, do you have any other insider info that hurt the Glazers? Well, look, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you mean about hurt the Glazers. I mean, I don't think there's any inside information to hurt the Glazers. I think they pretty much hurt themselves. As I say, I think there's a lot of spin going on at the moment. I mean, it's only Thursday, and I think we've been linked to about 6 players this week, none of which are we actually close to buying because we don't have the money to do it. So I think that they're thrashing and turning. The thing is, as well, and I would always say this, is that there's some fantastic people that work at Manchester United, but they are still Glazer employees. And some of them just love working for Man United, and they want the best for Manchester United. Some of them are on the payroll for the Glazers. Like they actually are part of the PR for Glazers. Like they actually are out there putting out spin for the Glazers. And I don't see those people as Manchester United fans. I think if you work for Man United and your sole job is to keep putting bullshit out to protect the owners, then you are not as bad as them, but you are on the payroll. Glazers and Roy Keane interview for Sky Sports, says James. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? There was a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to be the new Feyenoord coach, apparently. Could that be a pathway to Man United? Don't really care. Honestly, don't really care. I mean, I don't care about ex-players being Man United coaches or managers anymore. I saw somebody the other day saying, what does Darren Fletcher do? I mean, I think we need to stop talking about Darren Fletcher. I mean, I think it was a thing for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I just don't, I'm not interested in ex-players, to be honest. I mean, there's another story coming out this morning. I've just read it on MUFC MPB, Napoli magazine. Man United, Chelsea and PSG are all ready to pay Victor Osimhen's 62 million release clause. So if I was a gullible idiot, this morning I would have Man United ready to pay 60 million for Quenda, Man United ready to pay 50 million for Diamonde, Man United ready to pay 62 million for Cunha, and Man United ready to pay 62 million for Napoli. So I've literally, Man United are ready to spend £240 million. And this is where intelligent United fans kick in and go, enough. Enough of this. The thing that saves the Glazers is transfer stories and shirt sales. And the club know it. The thing that hurts the Glazers is drop in revenue. What, with your reach, let's start emotion as fans. Let's stop going to games and helping to line their pockets. Let's push the Glazers out of our clubs, says Pritesh. Mate, I'm all for conversation, and I'm not using you as a scapegoat here, but what authority have we got to say don't go to a Man United game? It's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. And more importantly, if we say that now, and I don't know, the next home game, 500 of you don't go, you won't even notice it. You won't even be able to see it out of 75,000 people. And if you keep doing it, you'll lose your ticket and there'll be a queue of 10 people wanting your ticket as well. So it's that sort of action you need. People say, why did it happen at AC Milan? Why does it happen in Argentina? They have ultras. Well, now, whether that's a good thing or not, they have elements of their fan bases in Europe and in South America that you don't fuck about with, basically. And if they say you're not going to the game and they're stood outside going, don't go in, people won't go in. We haven't got that in England. I don't think there's any club that's got that. It's just a different... It's like a different language. Like, you go to Germany, they speak German. You go to Italy, they speak Italian. They have different ways, different dishes, different foods, different customs, etc. They have fans that are hardcore fans that if they say we're not going in, then you don't go in. And also, those hardcore elements, I'm not saying they're hooligans or anything like that. They're just hardcore on what they think about their club. But I tell you what, those hardcore elements have relationships with the owners of the club because the owner of the clubs are shit scared of them. So the owners of the club wouldn't be, yeah, if we had that hardcore element at our club that everybody listened to, then they wouldn't have let Old Trafford rot. They wouldn't be in debt. They wouldn't raise ticket prices without speaking to them. But it's not just our fan base, Malps, it's every fan base in England. Although, I must admit, I don't think Liverpool have got a hardcore element. I think it's more of a Liverpool thing. They wouldn't have put up with the Glazers. They wouldn't put up with the Glazers. And Liverpool haven't got that ultras thing going on. They just wouldn't put up with that happening to their football club. If players have release clauses that have to be paid up front, we can rule ourselves out. We've got no chance of getting them, says Ian. Look, let me circle back to Cunha. Man United are willing to pay the £62 million release clause for Cunha. If you pretend that's real, also, please donate super chats of £1,000 each over the next minute because I need to buy myself a new kitchen. You know, don't do that. What I mean is, I'm just saying you'd be really gullible to believe that Man United have agreed that Cunha to Man United is done. The point is, even if Man United did want Cunha and did say they'll pay 62 million, I can guarantee you now that deal will be, we'll give you 10 now, 10 next year, 20 in year 3 and 20 in year 4. And that's your 60 million, right? Whereas there'll be other clubs who are interested in him who go, we'll give you 40 now and 20 next year. There might even be a club that will go, we'll give you 62 now. So we won't be able to get any player that there's competition for because we don't have the financial capability to pay considerable amounts up front. We got Euro because we went beyond what Real Madrid would pay. So, for example, Euro was priced at 40 and Real Madrid probably would have given them 40 up front. To get that deal done, Man United said, we'll give you 52 over 4 years. So, to get players, we have to do this whole pay a little over a longer period of time. I'm still looking for this Roy Keane thing about the Glazers, by the way. I haven't seen anything about it. Let me have a quick look. Maybe that'll be something for a bit later on. So much slow sports news, isn't there? I look around and people are still talking about the Varane stuff and the financials. Yeah, get with the bloody page. It was yesterday. Right, let me go to the chat. A lot of the problem on the field is that the opposition quality is being underestimated, where Man United does not cut it anymore because of the disgraceful neglect of United's brand by the owners, says Randall. I think this is a very intelligent comment from the chat. I think I was talking about this with the financials yesterday. 10 years ago, our revenue would obliterate everybody by a long way. Maybe 200-300 million. We'd be earning more than everybody else. You look at it today, Liverpool and Arsenal are virtually there, and Man City are there. So our revenue now is being caught up by and surpassed. But of course, even if our revenue is still the same as Liverpool and Arsenal, it's not, because we've got the debt to pay and they haven't. So what we've done over 10 years is taken a football club that was earning way more than everybody else, but also had the debt. We've now got to a point where we're not earning way more than everybody else and we've still got the debt. So projections wise, that's going to keep going down. The debt's going to keep sinking us even though the revenue goes up, but everyone else's revenue is going up and they don't have that debt. That's massively problematic. Also, the second thing that Randall's referring to is absolutely spot on. 10 years ago, the season we've had, I'd still put us in the top 6. No matter how, even though we've been really bad, I'd still say we'd be 6th, because 10 years ago, the Premier League would have that yo-yo between the Championship. The gap wasn't as big. The quality of the opposition wasn't as good. You look at an Aston Villa side 10 years ago, or a Brighton, where were they? Or a Newcastle 10 years ago. They didn't have the quality they've got now. You look at Aston Villa now, they've got Argentina's World Cup winning goalkeeper. They've got England's second striker. You look at Brighton, some of the best up-and-coming players in Europe. Fulham have got internationals, like one of the best left-backs in the league. Every team in the Premier League now, bar the bottom 3, and that's why it's up, down, up, down, up, down. There are 18 teams, 17, 18 teams in the Premier League, full of internationals, who are getting players. I mean, look, if Ipswich stay up, Ipswich could probably outbid Atletico Madrid on a player. The strength of the Premier League has gone up. And Man United have just slowly declined, but everyone else is just going past us. As I said, I look at that Premier League table, we are exactly where we deserve to be. I'd be surprised if there's a United fan that is sat there going, well, Man United, we should be in the top 6. We shouldn't. We should, because we're Manchester United and we shouldn't have fallen this far, but in the way that we've been run, we are where we deserve to be. The standards are on the floor, yeah, but we are where we should be. We are exactly where we should be. And I think that's another reason why, when I look at the press or the criticism of Amorim, I almost put my hand up and go, hold on a minute. Forget the manager. Look at the squad. We are where we should be. We're not actually good enough, Amorim in charge or Pep in charge, to be in the top 8 with that squad, the way that we've been run over the last 10 years. We are where we should be. And you're absolutely spot on, Randall. The way we've ran the club, we're only Man United by name. We're not Man United by form or performance. Okay, enjoy the beer kitchen, Mark, says it's CJR. And thank you very much for that. I'm not on the beer today. How do we improve realistically? Can't buy, can't sell, staff underperforming, training facilities substandard, says farming stock. I don't have the pathway, mate. I really don't. I said this yesterday. I don't have the pathway back. I think the only pathway I'm hearing, and maybe it's Simon Jordan or Gary Neville or Sir Jim Radcliffe, Project 28, whatever. The only pathway back seems to be give us 5 years. Who gets 5 years in football? Who gets 2 years in football? So Man United, who've not been relevant since 2013, in 2025, 12 years later, they want another 5 years. That's 50% of what we've been through. They want. My experience in life is when people are asking for more time, and it's a long time, they're just kicking the problem down the road, trying to survive. Oh, it's CJR. I know what you mean. You're talking about my beer kitchen. Thank you very much. White hanky Glazers out chant, says Woodwork Shop. Mark, I owe you £1,000, says Tony Shannon. Thank you very much, Tony. Okay, we're back at 2 o'clock. It's Thursday today, isn't it? Don't forget, Terry's running a show tonight at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that. Give us your support on that. Yeah, take care, everyone. We'll speak to you a little bit later. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Interesting chat this morning. Let's see what the day brings. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.